Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Hope you enjoyed your Father's Day weekend. Hope you had a good time. Dads. Hope you got treated like the king of the castle that you are, or you think you are, or just for one day they pretended you were.
Which one was it for you?
Oh, the last one.
The last one.
Pretended. Yeah.
All right.
It's almost that, it's going to get back to normal, and, you're going to give you a list of what to do and tell you that even when you're right, you're wrong. And if, you for some reason be right, I'm going to bring up something you were wrong on 5 years ago to change the conversation. Yeah, get back to normal.
Sounds like you've had some experiences here.
No, the girlfriend did me up great for 2 days. I had a blast. Yesterday, and I haven't done this because I was a baseball nerd that became a washed-up baseball nerd to a softball nerd. Mm-hmm. And I played in leagues and tournaments and all that ridiculousness for a while.
Right.
Then I retired from it. And so about 8-9 years ago, for my birthday, my girlfriend took me to batting cages. And it was fun because I totally geeked out in there for like an hour.
Sure.
You break a sweat. You're in a body cast the next day because swinging a bat for an hour straight will put you in massive, severe pain.
You've worked muscles you hadn't worked in a long time.
You forgot you even had muscles. So I did that like 8-9 years ago. It was fun. And it was a good time because that batting cages had baseball and slow pitch softball. Okay. So I'd go back and forth on both, and it was fun. Sure. The one, I turned it up as fast as it would go. And I get in there, right? I haven't swung it like baseball since, late teens. Sure. So I'm in there, and I get the stance going, and I'm in, and the arm is cocking up. It's the old school batting cage, and I'm waiting. Then you hear a thud.
Oh, it went past me.
Girlfriend goes, I think they pitched it, hon. It's like I didn't move. Thing was so fast. I was like, wow. Okay, let's do that again. Well, bam.
You've effectively been hitting off-speed pitches for the past 20 years.
1 mile an hour, right? And so yesterday we went, and I haven't swung a bat really since that day. Sure. Because, I pitched to my kids, but I wouldn't say, hey, kids, pitch to dad and let him hit the wiffle ball right at you. I didn't, Right. So my son, my youngest, played T-ball. But he didn't play baseball since he was little because he got bored in the field. It drove him nuts.
Yeah, out there kicking dandelions.
Oh, yeah, chasing butterflies.
We all knew that kid.
The ball got hit, and they all would chase it because like herding cats. Because they were all so bored. The ball got hit, and they went, woohoo!
I remember that very well.
So he hasn't swung a bat since he was like 6 or 7 or something. Yeah. So he went with me. We got in the batting cages, and it was pretty funny and embarrassing. And the guy, right, so we show up. They closed at 4. Okay. So we get there at like 3:15. Yeah. We're not there right at 4. We're there at 3. You got 15 minutes of cushion because, dude, you're picking up baseballs. Sure. So we get there, and there's nobody in there, right? Mm-hmm. So we walk in like 3:15. He looks at us like, what the hell do you want? Hey, can you do walk-ins, batting cages, want to get half an hour?
Because essentially an hour to close, they're closed.
Oh, yeah. In his mind, once he clicked past 3 o'clock, he's in shutdown mode,
really,
right?
Like 2:45, he's probably like, all right, 5 more minutes, closing this thing up.
Right. So we walk in, and he's on his phone, right? Right. So we walk in, he looks up like, seriously? And so once I realize that he's really annoyed, girlfriend goes, you sure want to do it? I go, oh, God, yeah, now.
Yeah. Oh, especially.
Absolutely now. So we did the half hour, and he chilled out the last like 10 minutes. Yeah. I started talking to him. But it was fun. I was as massively embarrassed as you think it would be when you haven't swung a bat in 8 or 9 years.
So now you're ready to try out for the Orioles, right?
Well, I got calls. I don't want to brag. I got calls. I took the video of my batting cage sessions, sent it off to the White Sox.
I was going to say, up until last week, I would have suggested maybe inserting yourselves in the Braves lineup because they couldn't hit a ball to save their lives, it seemed like. They've cleaned it up in the past couple days, but they were struggling for a while.
The other thing about it, too, is like there's some rules on the thing that I thought were funny. One was no chewing tobacco.
Oh, okay.
And so I asked the guy, because once he had warmed up and realized that, dude, you're here. Sure. He was, and he realized we didn't care that he wasn't that excited. Right. He started, I said, by the way, chewing tobacco rules, seriously? And he goes, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Well, it's the people wanting to relive their glory days.
All right.
Put in a hammer, bring the bat out there.
Oh, yeah. swinging it up and down, getting them all together. Brought their own bat boy.
Yeah, they got the guards. They got the elbow guard, the shin guard.
Oh yeah,
They got the C flap helmet on.
Purposely get hits so they can charge the mound.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was fun. So I did that and a bunch of other stuff. But it was cool. It was good. And by the way, I can't feel my thumbs.
Oh no.
Because I have a batting glove stuck in the trunk of my car from the old days. It's just in there with my glove because I never know when a game's going to break out and I might play again.
Totally.
So I went to in the trunk and I couldn't find it. And I didn't want to waste any time. So I was like, screw it. I'll just go without the batting gloves.
Right.
Yeah, I can't feel my thumbs today. Painful. I forgot what it was like when you hit the ball off the handle.
Oh, yeah, stinger.
And I did a lot of that because, again, it was not the greatest session in the world. So I did a lot of hitting off the handle.
Now, at least it was warm outside because when it's cold
it's the
and
worst.
you hit it the wrong way,
the worst.
You feel the bumblebees throughout your entire body.
It's awful. So, yeah, it was fun. When's the last time? When were you the last time you played?
Oh,
How old were you?
Last time I played, I was 15. It was my sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last season playing, so it's been a while.
Yeah, go swing a bat, have some fun.
I might do that.
You have to go in there knowing you're going to suck.
Oh, totally.
If you go in there thinking you're going to recapture any of whatever glory you thought you had,
no,
you're going to walk out so mad.
It reminds you of why you stopped playing.
Yes, it's just like I swear I think when I hit a ball solid, I wanted to just stop the game and give me the ball so I can take it with me.
Right.
But it was fun, though. I had a good time. I really did. It was fun. We were all making fun of each other. It was a good time. But I did that and a couple other things for Father's Day. And I could eat anywhere I wanted to.
That's the best part.
Isn't it funny when you get older, that's like really important?
Oh, that's the most exciting thing.
When you're younger and there's like days you could, like your birthday when you were younger, who cares about where I'm eating? Give me my gifts.
Exactly.
Now it's like, where am I going to dinner for my birthday?
That's my thing now with like going on vacation and stuff. Like, yeah, like the beach is cool. We'll go do this, go do that. I'm like, where are we eating at? What kind of food am I going to be eating? That is what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm like that now. It's like this weekend, I had certain specific places that no one know where they're at because they're in Baltimore.
Sure.
But certain specific places I wanted to go. And they weren't fancy. They were just neighborhood places I like.
Right.
And I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. My girlfriend's like, you want to go there? I said, yes.
Yes, my day. My day.
Because I want to go there. But it's not a Father's Day. That's why I want to go there, too. Because I have to put up a crowd of 70 billion people eating at some Father's Day restaurant.
Yeah. Got to go off the beaten path a little bit.
Exactly. So it was good. It was a good time, man. I enjoyed myself. It was fun. And I can't feel my thumbs. And I had some good purple going on them yesterday, too. So
yeah.
That was fun. Well, I hope you enjoyed your Father's Day as well. Appreciate you hanging out with us, whether you're in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach here on the game. Okay, I guess we can breathe now. All that's over with. We got a baseball coach here in Columbia. That's good.
It is. And, with how much we focused on that the past 2 weeks, it's like, not going to be as many angles on that this week.
Yes. Now the next angle is, how many players do you keep?
Mm-hmm.
And how many players do you bring in?
Right.
So far, Wes calls it healthy transfers. I think is what it's called.
Yep.
Everything's a healthy transfer at this point.
Yep.
I tell you, I like the kid that's coming in, Dalton Mayshore.
Yep, out of St. Mary's.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, he's got a little pop, hit 13 home runs, batting average is 338. Also stole some bags. Would he lead the team with like 11, 12 steals, something like that?
Second with 12.
Yeah, I mean, so he can run, got a little pop in the bat, hit for a good average. Again, how does that translate to the SEC? We'll find out. If you look at his slash line in his career, 490 slugging is solid, 362 on base is solid, and 274 batting average. So he's a solid offensive player.
Yeah, very solid. And I feel like he's an outfielder as well that could very well, kind of slide into that role that Austin Brindling is leaving behind, where, of course, he was the leadoff guy for, the last half of the season this year. And that's, seems like a spot that Dalton Mayshore may be able to slide into next year.
Yeah, West Coast Conference second team. I just got it up here. Only had one error last year. So, again, I like it just by, look, I've never watched him play. I know you're stunned.
Sure.
But just by stats.
You don't watch a lot of St. Mary's?
I don't do a lot of St. Mary's baseball. I watch St. Mary's basketball. I haven't watched a lot of St. Mary's baseball.
A little different.
And just the numbers look solid.
They do.
And one thing I think we're going to see as these players come in, a decent amount of them will be good defenders.
Yeah.
Because Maneri talked about that a ton. On Thursday about we're going to be a good defensive team.
Yes.
We're going to field the baseball. So you're going to see guys coming in that are good defenders. And again, just by numbers, Dalton Mayshore looks like a solid defender.
Yes.
So that's a good one. And, obviously there's a post on Gamecock Central, about the Ethan Petrie, talking about why he's coming back to Carolina for his third and what should be final season of college baseball before he moves off to pro ball. We'll see what Cole Messina. Look, if you're Cole Messina, you go through the whole process.
Of course.
You go through the whole thing, see where you're drafted, see what the slot dough is, you see everything, then you make up your mind what you want to do. And if everything works, you want to go play pro ball, good luck, man. Go get them.
Sure.
But if you think, I think I can improve my draft stock, I can come back. Team-wise, we got a new coach who's been to Omaha a lot. And so maybe we'll be competing to go deep in the postseason, and I can improve my draft stock.
Right.
That's the two choices he'll have to figure out. And he's been, you and I have talked about it, in the mocks, he's about a fourth-round pick in projections.
Sure.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you're a guy in the fourth round, you get good slot money, and you like everything, you like who drafted you, you like your opportunities, and you say, or you say this, you know what I want to do now? I want to play pro ball.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. But Ethan Petrie coming back is a good thing. Austin Brindling's out of eligibility.
So is Parker Nolan.
Parker Nolan's out of eligibility.
Can't come back. I know Kennedy Jones is going to test the waters of the pros. A couple other guys as well. Eli Jones, Jersenbeck, which going back to Jamie Bradford brought this up this morning with Bill and Preston. We kind of wrote off Jersenbeck as a guy that we were never going to see again after his injury a year ago. So the potential for him maybe coming back next year, that's pretty big.
He is a guy that when he was coming to South Carolina, he was looked at, he's going to be here just long enough till he goes and gets drafted.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff he has. And we saw it his freshman year a bit until he got hurt. So if Jersenbeck does come back for the one I want to show you year, what I got,
sure,
that's nothing but a plus. And I think also what Roman Kimball has gone off to the draft combine as well.
Eli Jones,
Kennedy Jones.
Yep.
There's a fourth that the Messina's going to, obviously.
Right.
But there's a few. They just want to see what they. I don't think look, I'd be surprised if Kennedy Jones stayed in the draft, or stayed. I shouldn't say stayed. Should stayed in pro ball. But I just don't think that's. I think he'll come back next year and improve his stock. Absolutely. Sure. I just don't think he's going to be drafted in a position to where he would want to go play pro ball. I think he would come back.
Right.
Eli Jones. Yeah, I just don't. If you watch him, and you saw it last year, he's not overwhelming you with wow stuff, right?
No, he's somebody.
It's location, pitchability, hitting his spots.
Well, and we knew him as a guy that was going to give up a fair amount of hits, but in his better outings did a good job of mitigating the damage. But as the season went along, that's the reason why he ended up losing one of the starting roles, that it just kind of seemed to come unraveled towards the end.
I mean, he got ground balls. Remember, he got himself out of trouble with some ground balls and things of that nature. Just stuff-wise, again, that's a guy where pro scouts aren't going to go, wow.
Right.
Now, Kimball's got a live arm. He just has a tough time consistently throwing strikes. Remember, Mark Kingston talked about when you slow him down. But when you slow him down, he's much more consistent. When he gets sped up is when he has trouble. I think that was. I remember he went to the therapist, the sports psychologist, or whatever. So we'll see where all of it goes. But now it's putting together a team.
Right.
And we'll get more into that, obviously, as we move through the off season. We'll come back. Interesting goings on yesterday in the world of sports. A couple very little topics that some days we wouldn't get into because we'd have so many other things. But now that we've moved into talking season, let's talk about a couple of interesting topics from yesterday's or the weekend. That's coming up next. Halftime show. Terry Ford and Tyler Head as we go till 3 on the game.
The 1-0. In the air. Left center field. Ross on the move. Won't get there. Tennessee walks it off.
That was a wild one. It's been a pretty wild College World Series so far.
Yeah, 3 walk-offs within the first 3 days of the tournament so far, both games on Friday, which that was the first time ever the opening 2 games ended with a walk-off. North Carolina game 1, Tennessee in game number 2, and Tennessee had to mount a big comeback against Florida State to make that happen. But yeah.
There was a little controversy to check swing, not check swing.
There was.
Replay looks like that was a swing.
You're telling me that Florida State got hosed on something controversial?
Never happens to Florida State.
Before.
But Tennessee wins. They come from behind, score a three spot in the ninth to 4 spot in the ninth to win the game.
Yep.
You had a come from behind win by North Carolina. The NC State game was crazy too.
Yes.
And so now where you're at today is as the smoke is cleared in this thing.
Yep.
You got an elimination game with Florida and NC State. That's tonight. Or this afternoon at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then tonight you have the winners bracket with A&M and Kentucky.
And Virginia is the first team sent packing after their loss yesterday, which means John Hendry can now join South Carolina's staff.
So that worked out perfect.
Perfect.
That's right. No one cares what Virginia does. It's like get the coaching staff full. But I mean, and the way it goes with Coach O'Connor at Virginia, they'll be back next year because that's what they do now.
Yeah, I mean that's 3 straight trips. I mean they're perennial tournament team World Series team every single year.
I mean, the hotel they stay at is the Cavalier Inn now.
I was going to say they go ahead and re-up.
Yeah,
all right, we'll see you next year.
When they left the other day, they went, just book us.
Yeah.
We'll be back. So Virginia's out. Either Florida or NC State will be out tonight. And A&M and Kentucky obviously moving this whole thing forward. Tennessee is in good shape. What they've done yesterday, Tennessee got I love clicking. Tennessee beat North Carolina. That one wasn't that close.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State got up big. Virginia tried to get back in that one before they got eliminated. And Florida State moves forward in the losers bracket. And we'll see who gets eliminated tonight. But Tennessee so far has played like the 1 seed. I mean, they almost got tripped.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things watching that game because Florida State got out to a pretty substantial lead. But as we've seen with Tennessee, I mean, I don't think any lead is safe with the team and the way that they're able to play on offense, and they just had this feeling in the back of my mind that they were going to make it interesting, and they certainly did. Got that walk-off on Friday night, and got themselves in pretty good position as we go deeper into the World Series.
And then Tennessee got some good pitching from one of their few true starting pitchers in Game 2 with the kid Beam pitched really well.
Right.
Went like 5.
Right.
So Tennessee's playing. They escaped. And we'll see. It'll be the first time that an overall 1 seed has won this thing since the first year of this setup.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens in the college. But so far, the College World Series, close games, come from behind wins, game-winning hits, big defensive plays. By the way, the kid from Tennessee, the center fielder, Ensley, his eye black was left on the wall when he hit the wall on that catch.
Yeah.
Catch was fantastic.
Right.
And he left eye black on the wall.
Go for it.
So it's been if you're the folks at the College World Series, you can't ask for a better start to this tournament.
No, not at all. And you have outside of Florida, all those teams were teams that we thought were going to be a factor to make Omaha when the postseason started. But in Florida's playing its best baseball as of right now. I know the numbers don't back up the fact that they should be there, but they're a team that, again, under O'Sullivan has been there multiple times, and you get them in a tournament setting, they're usually going to step up to the plate, and they've done that so far. And, again, just 8 quality teams in Omaha this year.
Now, I didn't look. Last time I looked was earlier. The thought is that they're going to throw their guy today.
I believe so.
They're going to throw Jack.
Yes. I think, because he hasn't, I don't believe he started any of the other games this weekend. Yeah, so he is, slated to start.
And again, he was their only good pitcher this year. Only good starter through the season. So we'll see how that goes today as Florida tries to survive. But like you said, I mean, the Gators were barely over 500. Under 500 in the league.
Well, remember the controversy of them just making the tournament to begin with, because they got bounced in day 1 at Hoover. It really boils down to their last regular season series against Georgia. They took 2 out of 3. That was enough to get them over the line to get in. That was it.
And when they won the Supers against Clemson, Caglione started the clincher. That crazy game, they went like 17 hours.
Yep. And all that's because the umpiring took half that time.
Oh, jeez. That game was nuts. But he wasn't throwing, like his velocity was down. He wasn't like sharp.
It's probably exhausted.
Probably from watching the umpires. So we'll see how Caglione throws as Florida tries to stave off elimination. It'll start with the last hour of our show. Kicks the first pitch around 2 o'clock.
Yep.
So College World Series. All right. Also, some very interesting goings on. Tyler, I think it's cut 9 at the U.S. Open. This was pretty wild yesterday. Again, cut 9.
Pinehurst for a U.S. Open championship. Bryson DeChambeau now has 2.
Bryson DeChambeau wins his second U.S. Open. Look, everybody's going to talk about Rory McIlroy choking this thing. And I'm not, look, the guy hadn't missed a putt inside of like 5 feet. He'd made like 400 and some consecutive putts inside of 5 feet or whatever it was.
Right.
And he gacked up to one. I mean, one wasn't the easiest, even though it was really short. It had some break to it.
Yep.
But the other one is one where you go, wow, I know my drunk buddy could hit that one. So McIlroy we'll get to in a second. But what DeChambeau did on 18 to put himself in position to, by the way, hit a par putt that was longer than McIlroy's 2 that he missed.
Yep.
DeChambeau, you got to give him his props. Before all the focus goes on McIlroy for what he didn't do, what DeChambeau did on the 18th was really sweet.
Well, and that's the debate everyone's having today is like, does DeChambeau win it or did Rory McIlroy lose it? But again, what he did on 18 was pretty remarkable. And I think that falls into, and I get it, DeChambeau's not the most liked guy on the tour by any means.
That's the other thing, too.
You know, that probably doesn't help, but you know, he got the USA chance going in the background for him.
He's not liked by fellow golfers.
He's not.
Remember the thing with Koepka?
Yeah,
a couple years ago.
Because people are like, oh, like how much does he actually care? And when it's not, you know, a major, you know, what's his investment into this? But you know, winning the U.S. Open and doing it in an exciting fashion, like. Again, we talk about what's going to make golf interesting to people. Things like yesterday, that makes golf interesting.
Because that was fun. It was exciting. I mean, DeChambeau, those 2 shots to put himself in position to have that par putt to win.
Right.
Oh, it was ridiculous. So you can't just focus on Rory and what he didn't do.
Sure.
What DeChambeau did, DeChambeau won that tournament on the 18th.
Yes.
Because no matter what happened with McIlroy, he was in the clubhouse to where if DeChambeau doesn't get himself together, Rory might win.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, oh, McIlroy choked it. No, DeChambeau won that thing. But if you're McIlroy, look, I get you, man. You haven't won a major in a long time. You finished in the top 10. I think the 21 top 10 finishes at majors since he won his last one. Mm-hmm. That far and away leads.
Yep.
I get you had it and you didn't finish the job yesterday. I totally understand it. But you know what your job is? Man up.
Do you want to know?
Got to man up, dude.
Do you want to know the difference in money between that one stroke that DeChambeau won with and McIlroy in second? $1,668,000 between first and second.
So what you do is you meet with the media and you man up, and then you go in your private car and cry uncontrollably.
Pretty much.
But look, Greg Norman melted down like nobody's business at the Masters years ago. Norman, and Scott Van Pelt hit this perfect. Norman sat there and talked to the media afterwards.
Got to own up to it.
Most embarrassing moment of Greg Norman's career. Norman sat there and answered questions. Phil Mickelson, every major felt like Phil choked in some way, shape, or form. Always manned up.
Yep.
I always look at people, it's not when things are going well for you. What do you do when things crater? And Rory took off.
I hope Full Swing is still documenting all this.
Yeah. I mean, if Rory would have won, I think he would have stayed and talked to the media.
Sure. Oh, of course.
I feel bad for him. I do. I get it. I understand it. But you look, that's when you got to be a man. Sorry.
Chaotic year of golf, to say the least.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Football. There's still a little to talk about. We'll get to it next on the game. What we're talking about, different things now. We talked about baseball a little bit in the opening riff of the show where we're discussing keeping keeping the key players you need to keep off of this past year's team while adding through the portal to make your team better. We got into that. Also, a little bit from the weekend in the world of sports, College World Series, also what happened at the U.S. Open with Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy. Now we're going to focus a little bit on Carolina football and Carolina administration. We'll start off real quick. Gamecock Central is putting up their talking season players to watch. And they hit an interesting one today, wide receiver Gage Larvadain. We have talked about him a lot since he came in through the portal, right?
Yep.
And he's a guy that played slot, a guy that played out wide. We heard his name a bunch in the spring, coming from Miami of Ohio, caught 42 balls last year. We're hoping he's a guy that can be very versatile, very productive. Again, you can use him in a variety of ways. We saw him catch a couple balls in the spring game.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens for real against Old Dominion, but there's a ton of names in this wide receiver room. It feels like all right, let's say this, Tyler, you go into summer practice, summer camp. You think Larvadain's one of the starters?
I think so. From everything that we heard through the spring and the brief bit we got to see in the spring game, he's kind of seems to emerge as that guy that we hear the most about. Does that necessarily mean he's going to be the best receiver this fall? Probably, or we don't really know. But if I had to craft a top 4, he's definitely going to be one of those guys.
Yeah, it feels like that's where it's at right now. And again, there's a long way to go until you snap it for the first time on offense against Old Dominion on August 31st. But it feels like Larvadain's one of the guys at this point.
For sure.
So we'll see where it goes moving forward. But a guy to keep your eye on, obviously. And look, another one, 5'10", around 170 pounds, whatever. A lot of these guys the same kind of size.
Right.
But this is a guy that was versatile enough to play in the slot and out wide. So Larvadain's one of the guys to keep an eye on as we go into summer. Delvion Campbell, though, will be the one because he's a big guy.
Yes, which is perhaps the biggest thing they needed from the portal this offseason. Checks that box again. He's played in less than stellar offenses in his college career so far. Put up okay numbers, but
yeah, that offense in Nevada last year.
You can only think that getting paired up with the Norris Sellers, getting paired up with the good OC like Dow Loggins, that can only further elevate his game. And here's the thing: he's kind of, I don't want to say a placeholder, but ideally you'd love to have Nick Harbor emerge as the kind of wide receiver that you hope he's going to be in year number 2. Now, again, he's not had the opportunity to come through spring practice, not as involved with the summer because of the Olympic stuff, or excuse me, because of the track stuff. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But if he isn't ready to go or isn't as developed as you want him to be in year number 2, you at least have that viable, tall option at your X spot to be able to use while he's coming along.
Right. And if he doesn't come along the way you hope, the other hope is Campbell is being productive.
Yes.
So that's really your 2 big receivers.
Right.
I mean, Stevenson is big-ish, but really Harbor and Campbell are your big guys.
Yeah.
All right, so that's every day they will be having the talking season player spotlight or whatever on Gamecock Central, so that's kind of cool. Chance Miller, we didn't talk about this on Friday. It's kind of got buried in the avalanche of baseball. But Chance Miller is going off to be the athletic director at Coastal Carolina. First of all, congratulations. We've had him on here a bunch of times. He's come in, really good dude, happy for him and the family that he steps up to be an AD. Basically, he was like the assistant AD here, for lack of a better term, for Ray Tanner.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, talk and conversation that Chance would be the AD once Coach Tanner decided he wanted to step aside.
Mm-hmm.
So, like all blank in waiting, it usually doesn't happen that way. So Chance Miller taking the gig at Coastal Carolina, I guess you feel like one of 2 things could be true. All right, I'll throw a third. A, he's not the AD in waiting, and he knew that. B, Coach Tanner isn't retiring anytime soon, like a lot of people would think. Or
Sure.
C, maybe he's got a really good opportunity and one to go. It could be any of those 3. It could be a combination.
I was going to say it may lean towards a combination of it. And I know last week, we talked a lot about how important the Maneri hire was to Ray Tanner because it might end up being his final hire as an AD, at least when it comes to baseball. But that doesn't mean he's going to hang it up in 2 years. I mean, he's 66 years old. I mean, he's still got plenty of gas left in the tank, looks to be in pretty good health. He could be around for another 10 years. So, if Chance Miller's idea was to take over eventually, well, there's no set timetable on that. And it could be another decade. And yeah, when you have the opportunity, especially at a school that is smaller, group of 5 level, to go in there, become an athletic director, that is another thing to add to your resume where eventually, you could become a Power 5 athletic director at a Tennessee, a Texas A&M, an Oklahoma, whatever it may be. And now you have, and again, he got to do plenty of dealings as the deputy athletic director here, but having full control and overseeing it all at one of those smaller schools, again, just adds to the resume for an eventual job down the road at one of these bigger schools.
Now, because you would think this, again, we're not over there. Chance and Ray don't invite us to the meetings,
right?
Which I'm kind of disappointed. But you would think if someone pulled Chance Miller aside, who's got the juice to be able to do this,
yep,
and said, you're the next in line, and it's coming within the next X amount of years, you would think you'd rather be the athletic director at South Carolina than go somewhere else and be the athletic director. Because there's no guarantee it's going to be your gig, right?
Well, and here's the thing. Maybe this is the kind of thing where he says, you know what, I'm going to go off to Coastal Carolina. I still think I can be the guy after Ray, but let me go actually try my hand at being a full-on athletic director so I'm even better positioned when that time does come.
The only thing you run your risk is if you decide to get yourself out of line.
That is true.
Sometimes you can't get back in line where you got out of line. It's like anything. You're waiting in line to get to get something, and you step out of line.
And it's one of those things, I don't think you can plan that far out,
no,
to be honest with you, because, again, if there was a theoretical sense like, hey, Ray's going to step away in 2 to 3 years, here's what the plan is, then yeah, maybe you can project out that far. But again, if there's no timetable for any of that right now, I understand why Chance Miller would say, you know what, I could maybe come back here down the line, but for now, I'm going to take this opportunity for myself and see what I can do with it.
And that's what it feels like it is to me, because if they would give you a definite timeline, say you're the guy,
yep,
and then they give you a little, they're paying you to be the guy in waiting,
sure, you
would stay. So it tells me timeline over everything. There's no set timeline where you would take over. Now you have the opportunity to go be an AD.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not blame Chance Miller for taking that opportunity.
No, not at all. And again, congratulations to him. And, obviously Coastal is a program that has, made a lot of strides. I mean, they were Division II not all that long ago, or FCS for several years. They've jumped up to the Group 5 level. They've obviously had very good football teams. Obviously, baseball is very good. They are a program that is on the rise at the Group of 5 level, and an exciting one to be able to take over.
So, Chance Miller, good luck, man. Hope it works out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Always been good to us. All right, we'll come back in your Firehouse Sub Text the hour, 803-404-6100. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head running this sucker till 3 on the game. Time to check the old Firehouse sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler?
Nameless texter weighs in and says Eli Jones should see Hurston Waldrop as one reason to stick around. Roman Kimball should discuss mental health with somebody like Tyler Matzik before he subjects himself to professional performance demands and the accompanying anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pressure cooker.
It is.
You know, I mean, Will Sanders had some stuff last year that was weighing on him from the neck up. It just, look, it's tough. And once you go to pro ball, think about this for a minute, Tyler. The percentage of guys who are in the minor leagues who end up in the majors is so small.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at bus rides. You're looking at playing in places like Medicine Hat. God knows other places.
Like, I didn't know Billings, Montana was real. Yeah. It is. Have fun living there for the next 2 years.
Well, I mean, you're bunking with, like, families will put you up.
Sure.
I mean, we've heard these horror stories the last couple of years of, and look, the money's getting better in the minor leagues. I get it. But just, it's tough. Yeah. It is absolutely tough. And it's a grind, and you got to be able to handle it from the neck up.
Yeah, for sure.
You just do. So that's a very interesting text. Yeah, you have to be able to handle that stuff.
And for those not familiar, Hurston Waldrop, who pitched at Florida last year, made his way to the Braves main roster, started the last couple games, got knocked around, got optioned back to the minors yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Holliday.
Yeah.
Jackson Holliday, number one prospect in baseball coming into the year, Matt Holliday's kid. All he did was tear up the minors with the Orioles. Came up, was like 2 for 30. Went back down to AAA to work on some stuff with the swing and his plate discipline and stuff like that. It's a failure sport.
It is. And now that you have the NIL component in college baseball, there is an opportunity to stick around, still be able to make a little bit of money, probably not comfortable to what you would be making in the minors, but better than nothing from what you had for so many years. So there is opportunity and an option to come back. And again, we'll see what those guys' individual, pro grades end up being and seeing. They may not all come back, but maybe a couple of them will. And would certainly, benefit South Carolina, the more the merrier.
Oh, sure. I mean, you could get guys back that can help you win. And look, with a guy like Roman Kimball, who knows with a new coaching staff what he could do?
Right.
Right? You just don't know. And, guys like that, it almost feels like, look, you never know. Look, if someone's going to draft you really high, like, look, Will Sanders was right. I mean, going to go play pro ball.
Right.
He's got a pro arm. It's just, can you deal with the mental side of the game?
Right.
And that's where it gets to. Sometimes stuff guys, especially starting pitching, it's such a chess match. It's not what it used to be. But you're going to go through an order 3 times. You have a chess match with that batting order 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys can win that chess match. Some guys can't. A lot of times you'll see a guy who tries to do that with a great arm or good stuff, but they still get knocked around because they can't win the chess match.
Right.
So they end up going to the bullpen, and then those guys start tearing it up out of the pen. You go, like Mariano Rivera was a failed starter.
Mm-hmm.
How'd it go as a reliever?
Pretty good.
Yeah, he just said, I'm throwing one pitch. Remember, he's down on the mound going, I'm throwing the cutter. And he still couldn't hit it. So it's such a pitching, especially once you get into the pro level, there's so much mental gymnastics that you got to deal with. And if you're a starter between starts, I mean, what if you get knocked around? Now you got to carry that with you until you get to the hill the next time.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff. So excellent text. We appreciate that. And we'll do it again next hour at 803-404-6100. Another thing I saw over the weekend, Tyler had, and it seems like it probably would be a thing. It kind of stinks, but if it's true, Charles Barkley's going to give it one more year.
That's
and
right.
then retire. Remember, TNT might not have the contract, the NBA contract, after next year. And Barkley's like, you know what? I might be done. And it would stink. I love Chuck. I love Barkley.
He is authentically himself. He never pretends to be anything that he's not.
And that's what I love about him. He's like, look, I'm going to be me. And if you like me, great. And if you don't, okay, that's fine too.
Right.
He doesn't try to worry what people think. He doesn't care what people think. He's just him. And he knows there's people who can't stand him, but he also knows there's people who love him. And he's fine with all of them. By the way, his bank account's full.
I was going to say,
he's okay.
I imagine he's been offered some pretty lucrative deals by these other television companies if it wanted to continue. But and I don't even know how old he is at this point in time. But I feel like he looked at this as an opportunity to step away. Because here's the thing: what makes Inside the NBA so good is all those guys together. And he knows that if he went to another television company, I don't know, maybe he gets to work with Shaq again, but it's not that whole group together because Ernie Johnson wants to stay with TNT and whatever they're going to end up doing. So, like, he knows that group wouldn't be together. So maybe it's like, well, it's not worth me trying to work in with some other group of people.
Well, he don't want to now. He's been with the same crew for ever since really he's been doing this for real.
Right.
And he's like, look, I like working with Ernie. I like working with Kenny. I even like working with Shaq. And we all kind of make it work, make it happen. And yeah, you go off to somebody, yeah, they'll offer you a gob of money, but you know what? I think Charles is okay.
Right.
I don't think Charles is, doing any kind of like part-time work at the Home Depot.
He's not hurting.
I think Charles is all right. So, and you can just go be Charles, have a podcast. Go have a Charles Barkley podcast.
Totally.
And just go be you, dude.
Do whatever you want to do on your own time. Like, he's not going to disappear out of the spotlight. No. He's going to pop up here and there, but I think we're definitely all going to miss his presence every day on television.
I mean, that show is so good. And what I like about him, that's different from a lot of ex-players. And I get it. You have a code. It's a brotherhood. I understand all of it. But Charles has no problem calling you out.
No, not at all.
Zero. If you're playing well, Charles will say you're playing well. If you're not playing well, Charles will let everybody know you're not playing well.
And you need that kind of honesty when it comes to commentary on television.
And you just don't get enough of it from ex-players because, again, they don't feel comfortable criticizing the brotherhood.
Right.
They just don't. And when they do, the current batch goes, whoa, hey, bub.
Right.
And especially in the NBA, you have a lot of thin-skinned divas in the NBA.
No, you don't say.
I know you're stunned, and they can't take it. But here's the funny part. Most of them wishes they were as good as Barkley was.
Of course. One of the best ever.
I tell you what, I said this is my youngest, because when he plays ball, I said, we were talking about Barkley, I said, have you ever actually seen Charles Barkley play basketball? He's like, no, I just see him on TNT. I go, this is real simple. Go to your YouTube and just Google Charles Barkley player, Charles Barkley highlights.
Right.
He comes back to me and goes, Dad, he pulled down rebounds, taking length of the court, go behind his back and dunk on people. I'm like, Charles could play. Charles could play. I will get back in here. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Coming up on the halftime show, Terry Ford and Tyler Head. We're hanging here till 3 here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. As we have been doing our little trip through the SEC football schedule, we've been picking at it a little bit, Tyler, but now that we're full-blown into talking season, we really dig into this thing.
That's right.
We have this baseball search.
That was a good 2 weeks.
Little thing. But now we're front and center football. We've been going through the TV schedule, and we're up to week 4 of the TV schedule. Pretty good, some pretty good ones in week 4. Early windows. Every week, Florida's on this thing, by the way.
Of course.
Every week, because their schedule is so bleeping tough. Every week. Ready for this one, though? This is one they should conceivably win.
Yep.
Maybe. At Starkville.
Yeah, you would think. That Mississippi State program took such a massive step back last year, and I hear a lot of people that are not very sold on Jeff Lebby as a head coach. And even if he does end up being a great head coach, I don't think it's going to be a one-year turnaround. Like, that program's going to have to build itself back up a little bit. So that might be one that does end up favoring Florida, the Dan Mullen Bowl.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Is there like a trophy with Dan's face, or does Dan come to the game?
I was going to say, Dan Mullen is still enjoying his buyout from Florida, sipping cocktails on the Bahamas.
Hanging out on ESPN.
I was going to say, he'll be sitting at the ESPN desk laughing at this one, no matter what the outcome is.
Well, you look, and we will not know if Lebby's just a really good offensive mind or is he a head coach. We don't know which one it's going to be.
Sure.
And they're going to sling it around a lot. That's one thing they're going to do at Mississippi State. But again, think about it for a minute. You went from Mike Leach's air raid to whatever that mess was last year. Was that the opposite of air raid last year was Zach Arnett.
Yes.
By the way, using the personnel from the air raid to run a run-heavy offense and have a quarterback who specializes in air raid and now not running an offense for what the quarterback specializes in. Yeah. That alone should have got you fired on the spot.
It should have, and the fact that Zach Arnett's a defensive-minded coach and the defense wasn't all that great didn't help.
Look, they were put in a tough spot by the passing of Coach Leach. I get it. And Arnett, they won the bowl game with Arnett. So you figure, what the heck? He's a rising, young, hotshot assistant coach. We'd love to keep him because he's really helped our defense here. So let's give him a shot at head coach and see if it works.
Sure.
And it didn't work. It was the opposite of it worked. But that's why you go to Lebby. Now, Lebby is a high-level offensive mind. Does he translate into a good head coach? We're going to find out. But to the point of this, Florida should be able to go into Starkville and find a way to win a football game.
Probably so. Now, again, they have to get over their seeming curse of how bad they play on the road outside of the one game here at South Carolina last year. But, that'll be an opportunity, again, early on in the season to see how much they've improved in that regard. And, look, here's the thing. Florida's not without good pieces on that team, but it just seems like they're not up to snuff with some of the top teams in the SEC, which is why we don't have them winning too many games this year.
It's not Florida anymore. We always, it's just a habit because they have been good on a high level.
Sure. Well, and you mentioned the fact that, they're still getting some of these prime slot games because their brand still does matter. They're a name that catches people's attention. It's only when you dive into the numbers to be like, they've been pretty mediocre for the past 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, people are going, wow, I'll watch that Florida game, see how Tebow's doing. I mean, they
sure.
don't realize this is a program that's not what it used to be. So you get Florida in the early window against Mississippi State. Arkansas will travel to Auburn in the afternoon. I got a bad feeling for Uncle Sam on the plains.
Well, yeah, Auburn is a sneaky team. Year two under Hugh Freeze, and he's taken over the play calling. We'll see how much that helps out a guy like Peyton Thorne at quarterback, who couldn't hit the broadside of the barn with his throws a season ago. If Hugh Freeze is the quarterback whisperer that we know him to be, there should be a significant step up in his game.
I'll say this. I don't know what Hugh Freeze was whispering to him last year, but it didn't work.
It was the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was, what's his name calling the plays last year?
But I'm sure Freeze was working with with the quarterbacks.
I'm sure he was, but not as hands-on as he's going to be this year.
So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But Peyton Thorne is now 3 years ago at Michigan State was really good.
Yeah, that's the thing. There was reason to be optimistic about him, going into last year. But then, again, he had a noodle arm playing at an SEC school where you need to throw the ball to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, he hooked up with Keon Coleman, who was at Florida State last year, and Michigan State had something going. Remember, they won double-digit games with Mel Tucker.
Right.
But Peyton Thorne, you look at him now and you go, ooh. So we'll see what happens as Arkansas goes to Auburn. It'd be nice to see Uncle Sam steal one. I just don't see him stealing one there.
No.
And again, we went over this, what was it, Thursday or Friday? Uncle Sam and Sunbelt Billy are the two where their seats are the warmest.
Yeah, the two with the realistic possibility of not making it to season 6.
Yeah. And, we looked at it, and everybody always says, well, our boy Billy has the toughest road because the last 5 or 6 games that schedule is just a killer.
Yeah, I mean, after the midway point of October, they may not win again.
Yeah, exactly. So the thought is Napier won't survive. But Uncle Sam's got a couple things going on in the middle of the season, and if Arkansas is still limping around, Uncle Sam might not make it out of the middle of the season after what did we say, the second bye week? He could be toast?
Yeah, and we talked about this when he was announced to be coming back and how much of a surprise that was. Like, look, Arkansas is not a Florida or an LSU that has a championship history behind it. You have a pretty decent leash when you're a place like Arkansas, but even Sam Pittman was probably surprised they brought back Sam Pittman for another year because, I mean, that program had just gone in a complete 180. And was there promise when he was brought in as a head coach and showed some flashes of it? Certainly so, but they are far and away from being remotely competitive in the SEC as of right now.
Well, that second year they won 9 games. Remember, they smacked Texas all over the field in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come back for that third year. South Carolina went to Fayetteville in September.
Yep.
Arkansas looked really good.
Yep. Ran all over them.
And then
Rocket
all of a
Sanders.
sudden, something happened.
Yeah.
And the offensive line got defensively, they started it was like their new defensive game plan was, let's give up a lot of points, fellas. And Arkansas just went sideways. The night games are interesting. UCLA will go to LSU. Now, you figure LSU should win this game quite easily.
Right.
Would be the thought.
Right.
Because LSU is just better than UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA's head coach would rather be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State than the head coach at UCLA.
Right.
Their fancy 5-star quarterback would rather conceivably go be a backup at Oregon than start at UCLA.
Right.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, UCLA is going into the Big Ten.
Still got to get used to that.
So LSU should win the night game in Death Valley.
Yes.
That's how that one feels. Tennessee goes to Oklahoma. We think we know more about Tennessee than we do Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got to replace a quarterback and an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, they did get better last year for the most part. Tennessee last year won despite their quarterback. And now they have a guy in Nico that everybody thinks is just going to be the next great volunteer QB.
If Nico lives up to the hype, this should be a game that Tennessee wins, I don't know, 2 scores, somewhere along those lines. Going into Norman is not easy by any means. But again, if he lives up to the hype, they should be fine. That's the question of, though, is if. We've seen him in a 1-game sample size against a Iowa defense that didn't have its best player in Cooper DeJean. And, yeah, Tennessee won that game pretty handily. But that's a bowl game. We'll see how, and that would be, is that their first true road game of the season?
I believe.
So,
now remember, Iowa was allergic to the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, you score 3 points, you've got Iowa beat.
You got them on the run. So we'll see. Remember, the thing about Tennessee is we get so caught up in that high-powered passing game.
Sure.
Tennessee under Josh Heupel has ran the ball really well.
Yeah.
And last year, their running game saved their butt on offense because they couldn't throw the football because Joe Milton, the minute Joe Milton let it go, everybody ducked.
Yeah, well, it could go 900 yards, but when you overthrow your target by 890 of those yards, it's not worth much.
So if Nico is the quarterback they think he is, you feel like Tennessee would be in a good spot there to go to Norman and possibly steal a W. But if Nico isn't, and this is the thing about this world of college football today, if Nico isn't what Tennessee hopes for at this point in time of the season, and Oklahoma has fixed their offensive line, and Jackson Arnold is a little farther along than Nico, all of a sudden, Oklahoma's got a nice home win.
Sure.
This is the transfer portal world. So many things are unknown with so many teams. You go, well, if this and if that and that and this, and this is a game again.
Which, again, is what makes projecting so tough because we have more questions than answers.
And by the way, people forget, I don't know how much this matters, but, the last time Oklahoma won a national title, you know who their quarterback was, right?
Oh, it was Heupel.
Yep.
That's right.
Josh Heupel. Here's on the staff. He got run off that staff, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
All right, week 5. We'll get week 5 in real quick. Early window has Kentucky and Ole Miss. Kentucky is going to Oxford. Now, if Ole Miss is as good as we think they are, the woodshed should be broken out on the Grove.
You would think. I mean, they've done everything that they needed to this offseason, recruiting, transfer portal. You got Jackson Dart coming back as one of the most seasoned quarterbacks in the SEC. Obviously, we know Juice Wells is going to be heading over there, playing wide receiver. Got a lot of good guys on defense. Like they've checked every box you can think of. Now you got to go out there on the field and prove it once again. And by the way, they're coming off the best season in program history. They'd never won 11 games before. Can you roll that into another great season? I got them in my college football playoff, to be honest with you. Like, I think they're going to be that good with that how much talent. I don't see how you can't be that good.
We all think they're going to break through. But I think you and I have talked about this. It's one thing to be that cute little team that sneaks up on everybody.
Sure.
Better than they thought. Hey, the Grove is really cool. You walk around the Grove, great scenery, fun parties, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I don't remember in my lifetime this level of expectation for Ole Miss football.
Well, and not just Ole Miss football, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Because Lane Kiffin has always been that coach. Well, we think we can get a team to this level. We think he's going to be able to accomplish this. He finally, truly accomplished something last season with Ole Miss. Now the expectation of, okay, can you take it even a step further?
Well, you look up and go, wow, they've won double-digit games 2 of the last 3 years. That other year, they won 9. Whoa, wait a minute. We weren't looking, and all of a sudden, this became a good program.
Right.
So now they got all this transfer portal talent for this year. Now they'll take the next step.
Right.
And now there's a ton of expectation on Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Yeah. So they will host Kentucky, a team that's going to be in some transition this year at some key positions. That Oklahoma team again, they're going to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the afternoon window. We just talked about Auburn. If Peyton Thorne can play anywhere like he did 3 years ago, and if Hugh Freeze can get an offense like Hugh Freeze typically has, they could be dangerous because they were a good defensive team last year. In Oklahoma, we just don't know. We don't know what Jackson Arnold's going to be. We don't know if the offensive line is going to be what it was last year. Just we have no clue. Then the night game in Tuscaloosa, Georgia, Alabama.
That's right. That will be Kalen DeBoer's first SEC game.
How about that one for your first rodeo?
That's going to tell us a lot because, again, that's an Alabama program that beat Georgia, cost them their shot at the national championship a season ago.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama was still able to retain a lot of talent. What's the difference in coaching between Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer? It's going to be put on full display in game number 1.
And if you're Kalen DeBoer, it's your first SEC game. By the way, every minute of every game, you're under the microscope.
Oh, of course.
So if Georgia comes in to Bryant-Denny and beats you, and I don't mean just barely gets by.
Like 3 touchdown
I mean
victory.
beat you.
Yes.
Plant the flag at midfield, beat you.
I was going to say, they're going to be like, is this really our guy? We need to make a change here?
Oh, I mean, that place will go nuclear.
Oh, I know it will.
Nuclear. So that's very interesting. That's up to week 5 now. We'll get back to it tomorrow as well. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll come back, take a little sniff around the National Football League and see what's up and what's going on there with some a couple little news and notes from the NFL. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, it's a halftime show. We are going up until 3 on the game. halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, we're hanging up till 3 o'clock with football in the 1 o'clock hour on the game. All right, so you wonder why the NFL is the NFL and how they print their own money. And they, even at times, they do things that are dopey.
Sure.
Or if they try to pretend that they care about something they don't, they really don't care. They're just pretending to care to stay out of court, whatever.
Of course.
None of it matters because this is a great headline. Ad packages for the Christmas NFL games on Netflix will cost more than $5 million.
Not surprised.
Not at all. Not one bit. $5 million for Christmas. And really, it doesn't even matter the matchup.
No, I mean, you're going to watch it.
Sure, and that's the thing. We whine and moan about these Thursday night
They're awful.
duds that we get all
terrible.
the time.
And it gets worse as the season goes along.
But guess what?
We watch it.
And it's awful.
It is.
It's terrible. The matchups are awful, and typically the game matches the matchups.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, why in God's name is this on my TV?
Well, because my tight end on fantasy is playing in this game.
Exactly. Or I've got a prop bet or whatever's going on, right?
Or just I want to hear Al Michaels.
We would never, ever,
as he loses his spirit game by game.
Care. By the fourth quarter, Al's just giving recipes. Because, I was making this cobbler, and it was really good. And I sliced my peaches different. I mean.
Well, he doesn't eat fruits or vegetables, so that can't be true.
That's true. Here's the thing about it all is, let's transition this to other things we watch in life.
Sure.
If you go see a movie and it stinks, are you saying next week, hey, honey, let's go watch that movie that sucked again. Let's go pay money to watch that movie that stunk.
Not at all.
If there's a TV show and you flip it on, so you've heard about it, and it's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do?
Probably not
watch more of this thing.
Yeah.
We don't care. We just don't. We watch it, even if it's terrible.
And that's the fascinating thing is like Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL, all these other major sports leagues, the top concern is how do we continue to grow our audience because for whatever reason, ratings going down in this area and this segment of people isn't watching anymore. NFL doesn't have to worry about that. They have us in a stranglehold. They know we are going to watch no matter the controversies that have happened on the field, the quality of the game itself, because the quality of football today compared to 15, 20 years ago is not as good anymore, but we still watch.
Well, the thing, too, is that you never hear this, because you hear this all the time in the other sports. Whether it's the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, whatever, well, you need the biggest markets. Oh, the world. Oh, my God, the NBA Finals. Remember, everybody was scared out of their mind that the NBA Finals could be potentially the Indiana Pacers and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
oh no!
The NFL, if you had Green Bay and New Orleans, and that couldn't be a Super Bowl because they're both in the NFC, but if that was the NFC Championship game, that might be one of the most watched NFC Championship games of all time with two of the smallest media markets in the entire league.
We'll just put Jacksonville in that mix.
Sure.
Because might be besides Green Bay's so weird.
Yeah.
Take out Green Bay. Jacksonville's might be the smallest market in the NFL.
Probably.
So you put Jacksonville in there really quick. Jacksonville, New Orleans.
Yeah. Oh,
there
120 million people.
50 billion people watch. Some of them are watching for the commercials. Some of them watching because they did some Super Bowl fantasy thing. Some people bet on everything possible at the length of the national anthem.
Sure. Well, and the unique thing about the NFL, and the same can be said for college football as well, is it's such a high volume sport. So if you're a Braves fan, if you're a Lakers fan, whatever, most nights you're just watching your team. Yes, there are highlights of other games. You may watch the occasional other game, but usually you're kind of hyper-focused on your team. With the NFL, playing one game a week, you're really kind of taking in the league as a whole, unlike you're doing with any other sport. Because, all right, my team plays at 1. Well, there's still a 4:30 game. There's still the night game. There's still Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. You have so much more opportunity to watch everything going on with the league that you don't quite get with the other sports.
Well, that's the thing, too. In the NFL, like, for what we do here, there's no NFL team in this city, obviously. There's one they say is an NFL team. I don't believe it, an hour up the road in Charlotte.
Sure, though they haven't been a team in 10 years.
Right. But people still talk about the NFL here.
Of course.
And people can talk about other teams in the NFL here.
Right.
Let's say you go to Atlanta. Talk about the Braves with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Talk about the NL East because you see those teams.
Sure.
Talk about American League team real quick.
Who cares?
That's my point. Even the NBA, it's a superstar-driven league.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my kid loves the NBA. You know what he talks about? Players.
Yeah.
Don't talk about teams. Say to him, he'll go, I love Giannis. Tell me about the rest of the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, I got Giannis and that dude that doesn't play defense from Portland, Lillard.
Yeah. They got the other guys that should be giving the ball to Giannis.
Exactly. And that's kind of the way this goes.
Sure.
So the NFL fans talk about the whole league, can tell you players all over the league that they don't do with other sports.
And the NFL is the one sports property that going to streaming only services doesn't deter people. Like I'm a big NASCAR fan, obviously. 10 races next year are going to be or 5 races next year are going to be exclusively on Amazon Prime through the summer. And people are like, oh my God, you're cutting half your audience in half because a lot of your audience probably doesn't have that streaming service. The NFL doesn't have to worry about that. You're going to put every Thursday night game on Prime. They're still pulling in millions and millions of viewers because you find a way. You're like, you know what? I don't have Amazon Prime, but I'll shell out, I don't know, $5 a month for the next 3 months just so I can watch Thursday Night Football. Same thing with these Netflix games on Christmas. Like, you may not have Netflix, but you're like, I'll do a month if I can watch these games on Christmas Day, sure.
And the hope, Netflix hope, is they pull you in with other stuff.
Exactly.
Here's the other thing, too, that's interesting here is anyone who buys these ads at Christmas packages, you know, the $5 million, must have $500,000 in spending with Netflix beyond the NFL games. Ooh. There's your Netflix poll.
There it is. Yep.
And they have a bunch of, like, Bill Bradley of Adweek. So sponsorships for the games will have at least 8 30-second ad units that cost $5 million a pop. And plus, you have to have $500,000 worth of spending for Netflix.
And I wonder how the commercial breakdown's going to work because I know, like, with Amazon Prime, I know they don't do go to a commercial with a 2-minute warning. It's not your typical TV broadcast because they don't have to adhere to the same standards as typical, CBS, Fox, NBC, or whatever. I wonder if this will be the same way, or maybe there'll be less commercials, but the value of those commercials that do get played is actually higher. I would think.
You're right. It's going to be, the breakdown's going to be interesting, and when you're spending $5 million, you want a little something for your money, right?
Sure.
So Netflix is getting something. The NFL obviously is getting something. Advertisers are getting, the push of being on an NFL game that's being watched by a ton of folks. And who's the one crew that's paying?
We are. Yeah.
Fans are just getting the game to watch.
What is Netflix's subscription now?
I think I pay what is it, $5, $6, $7? No more than 10.
It might be higher than that. You might want to double check.
It's been a while. I've had it for so long.
I think they've gone up because it used to be like, I don't know, $8, $9.
I mean, I've had it for so long. They just automatically take it out of my bank account.
And that's the thing. Most people don't even pay attention to it. Like,
that's the thing.
I just know I pay for it. And you're like, wait, I've been $25 a month for this thing?
I am the greatest example of the person that gets hosed.
Sure.
Because I've had Netflix for so long, I don't know what to pay anymore.
Yeah.
I got the Hulu, Disney, ESPN bundle. I got no clue what that is right now.
When you get some time, you might want to check your bank app. You might be surprised.
What's that app that tells you all that stuff?
Oh, they have a ton of them.
Yeah, they'll tell you, hey, bud, you're getting screwed.
Right. You're like, hey, you've been paying for airplane Wi-Fi for the past 3 years.
Right. Guess what? You have 7 Hulu accounts you're paying for. All right,
you might want to double check on that.
$5 million for Netflix. I will get back in here, football in the 1 o'clock hour. I've been waiting to get to this, and we just need it once we got fully into talking season. It's a college football 2024 all weight. They're still playing in college football team. This will be fun.
Yes, it will.
That's coming up next as we roll till 1 here on The Game. We run till 3, not 1. Where's my head? Maybe I need to go to the men's clinic. 803-875-MENS. Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Maybe you're like me and can't remember when you get off of work. Maybe you don't know where your keys are at. Maybe you're not sleeping well. Maybe you just don't have any life drive, sex drive, professional drive, any drive. Maybe your workouts stink. You're not as strong as you used to be, and you don't bounce back from the workout like back in the day. Could be just low testosterone. One way to find out, you call 803-875-MENS, Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Set up a confidential, free consultation with Dr. Dan and the staff. Tell them your story. If they think it could be low T, they'll do lab work. If it is low testosterone, they will set you up on a personalized program specifically designed for you to get you back to feeling like you again. Could just be low T. One way to find out. Call the Men's Clinic of South Carolina at 803-875-MENS. What we're talking about is football and more football in the 1 o'clock hour here on The Game on the halftime show. Terry Ford and Tyler Head. This is kind of cool. The Athletic put this together. It's the wait. They're still playing college football team.
These are good.
These are good. 2018, your quarterbacks. Cam Rising, Utah. He's been around since 1998.
Well, and he's gotten hurt in all those seasons pretty much.
Rising has been, well, remember, he started off at Texas.
Yep.
Do you know who recruited him at Texas?
Oh, God. It wouldn't have been, was it Charlie?
Nope.
No.
Tom Herman.
Oh, that's right.
Tom Herman recruited him at Texas.
Is it bad that I forgot about the Tom Herman Texas years?
Oh, most of the people at Texas have forgotten about the Herman years at Texas. So Tom Herman,
God,
he was part of Herman's first full Texas recruiting class.
By the way, with every season Cam Rising plays college football, his helmet gets slightly bigger. I don't know if you've noticed.
Just a coincidence. All right. Now, this gets better. Now, of course, he started off at Herman's first recruiting class. Suffered a serious knee injury in the Rose Bowl in 2023, January 1, 2023.
Yep.
Rising missed all of last season. Should be back in the fall, ready to roll. Thanks to a recent settlement in a lawsuit over the NCAA's transfer rules, Rising might even be able to return in 2025.
Good Lord.
According to the terms of the transfer settlement, it appears Cam Rising could get an 8th year if he wanted it.
Well, I haven't seen him projected very high on many draft boards, so I would say that's a very strong possibility that he could be playing in 2025.
If he comes out and plays like he did before his injury, and like you said, the NFL isn't in love with Cam Rising.
No.
Cam Rising, and if his NIL money is decent, which it should
they're
be.
They're getting free trucks out there in Utah.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Rising will be back for year 8.
Good Lord.
Maybe they can find a new settlement for year 9 and 10. Another name, Dillon Gabriel.
Yes.
At Oregon. Now, people remember Dillon Gabriel at Oklahoma for the last couple of years. People forget that Dillon Gabriel was at Central Florida and started as a true freshman in 2019.
That's right.
Now, Bo Nix finished his Oregon career with an NCAA record 61 starts. Dillon Gabriel is now at Oregon, obviously. And if he starts all the games this year, Dillon Gabriel will break Bo Nix's record for most career starts.
That's right.
Dillon Gabriel's really good.
He is.
He's a very good college quarterback. He really is. Oregon did a nice job bringing in Dillon Gabriel, a better down the field thrower than Bo Nix.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. Here's another name for you, KJ Jefferson. Now at Central Florida.
Has he really been around that long?
2019, sir.
Wow, man.
2019. By the way, remember this from a couple years ago, that game with Alabama and Arkansas where Alabama won that shootout 42-35. You know who the quarterback for Alabama was?
What year would that have been?
Great Dr. Pepper commercials, 2021.
Yeah. Bryce Young. That's right.
Now going into his second year in the NFL.
That's right.
Florida has a fellow named Graham Mertz, 2019. Graham Mertz will be going into year 7. People forget something. Graham Mertz was a redshirt freshman. During the COVID year, he took the wheels, or took the steering wheel at Wisconsin.
Yep.
His first game was phenomenal. Threw like 5 touchdown passes or something crazy in his first game. Then he went at Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin had a lot of COVID complications that year that screwed up their season in a lot of ways.
Well, remember, the Big Ten had the kooky year anyway.
Because I remember, I think because they had a couple games canceled, everybody did, but there was concern they weren't going to be able to play but maybe like 3 or 4 games that year. But yeah, I remember Graham Mertz turning heads in that first start.
And now Graham Mertz, we're looking at year 7 of his college career. Here's one that's interesting. Gary Bohannon at BYU. It feels like 10 years ago, Gary Bohannon started in the Big 12 championship game. Remember they got that win over Oklahoma State with the stop at the goal line? Gary Bohannon was the starting quarterback for Baylor.
Wow.
Well, no, that year he was. He missed that game. He got hurt, remember?
Yeah.
But he was their starter most of that year. Then he moved on from there to South Florida, got hurt again, and now he's at BYU. School 3.
Wow.
For Gary Bohannon.
And back in the Big 12.
Brew McCoy, Tennessee. Started off at Southern Cal, went to Texas, like 3 hours later transferred back to Southern Cal. Was at Southern Cal for a while. Finally, last couple years at Tennessee, his career started to pop a bit. Remember, he had that really bad injury against South Carolina last year.
That's right.
So he's now 24 years old.
Wow.
Is Brew McCoy. There's a couple more here, but I'm going to give you the godfather of all this.
All right.
Cam McCormick.
There he is. I knew he was going to be on this list. I don't think his is ever going to be beat. There's no conceivable way somebody could stay in college as long as he has.
Cam McCormick is in year 9. Cam McCormick, now he's at Miami. Remember, he was, I believe, Oregon.
Because he's had, it's like 4 knee injuries.
Yeah, he's had, he can do his own ACL operation by this point.
Oh, he's a master.
He's like MacGyver. He just said, give him some duct tape and a staple gun. Cam McCormick started at Oregon, then is now at Miami. Here's the deal. McCormick was in the same recruiting class as Jalen Hurts, Nick Bosa, and DK Metcalf.
2016.
7 years at Oregon. Injuries cost him most or all of 4 consecutive seasons. Finally got healthy, played the entire 2022 campaign at Oregon. Now he's a starter at Miami, earning a bachelor and master's degree at Eugene. Maybe he's going for a 3rd degree.
He's got to be a doctor at this point.
And a lawyer, both. It's craziness.
But here's the thing, and people, you know, especially now that we've got the COVID years and stuff like that, when people say, oh, this guy's back for a 5th or 6th year, they're like, go get a job, enter the real world. I'm Cam McCormick. I don't think anybody's looking at him at the next level. Why not ride out your college career as long as you can? Enjoy it.
Who was older, Cam McCormick or Van Wilder?
Oh, man. How many years of eligibility did Van Wilder have?
I love that movie. Highly underrated movie.
You know, it's based off Bert Kreischer's life.
Yeah, I didn't know that until the last couple years.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He's actually never seen it.
Really?
Funny enough.
That is funny. Defensively, Jordan Birch's name is on here. Jordan Birch started at South Carolina. He was a number 8 overall recruit in 2020.
See, 2020, though, that's not that long ago.
That doesn't feel that long ago.
No.
This will be, his 5th year of college football.
And if he came in 2020, does that mean he has an extra year still?
He might have a 6th year.
Wow.
Well, think about it. You get 4 years, you get a redshirt 5th year, then you get a COVID 6th year.
Right.
So he might even have another year left after this.
Wow.
Another interesting one I want to get to here. Where's it at? Marcel Brooks of TCU. You're like, so what? Marcel Brooks was once a 5-star recruit. As a true freshman, had a sack and a half for the Joe Burrow National Championship LSU team.
That was a while ago.
Yes.
Joe's in his
4th year in the NFL.
In the NFL.
Uh-huh. So that's some good ones in there. I'll give you one more. Asa Turner at Florida. Asa Turner was a true freshman starter at... How about that?
See, and I believe, and the Jordan Birch thing's a good question, because I think after this year, there shouldn't be anybody with COVID eligibility left. I don't think.
I think you're right.
Because it'll have finally cycled all those guys out.
Yeah. Because once the Jordan Birches and those guys are all done, I think 2020 is probably the last class, right?
It should be, if I'm unless you have somebody that had like an injury year, medical redshirt, then maybe it'll be a handful. But for the most part, I feel like starting in 2025, we'll kind of get back to status quo when it comes to eligibility.
I think we can all agree there will be not another Cam McCormick.
No, that means we've had another pandemic, which God help us all. Let's
Please,
hope
not another one of those. All right, so that is you're still in college football team for 2024. We'll get back in here. Firehouse Subtext the hour at 803-404-6100. It's a halftime show. We're rolling football in the 1 o'clock hour right here on the game.